So I got this comment the other day on one of my videos, and look what it says.
Well, whoever wrote that probably just wants you to know that they're doing fine and they're happy being an atheist. However, they're also expressing that they understand that the Bible is in fact not a science or a history book, but actually is a Jewish and Christian faith manual full of superstitions and scientific ignorance, and they, as an atheist, are happy being intellectually honest. Sounds good so far?
Proud to be an atheist, rather that than read words documented post-death and supposed resurrection as if they came from a source guaranteed to be reputable.
Yep, that's what the comment said. So I assume this is the part where you plan to dishonestly twist their words and flip the burden of proof on them?
Well, if you look up the word atheist in the dictionary, the definition is this: someone who lacks belief or disbelieves in God.
Yeah, that's the general definition of atheist people are thinking of when they identify as an atheist. It can get a little bit more complex when you get into the deeper spheres of philosophy, where it's more accurate to identify as a non-theist, but this is good so far.
But it's interesting how people believe words written post-death of a lot of other people.
Well, it really depends on the text, but what I'm curious about is why you are deflecting. The claim was challenging what you believe about the Bible, so it's up to you to bring the evidence that puts the Bible on the same level as a science or history book.
History books, science books, biographies of artists, of musicians, and they read their life stories written by somebody else and they believe them.
Yeah, that's the difference between biographies, autobiographies, science books, and historical texts. There is mountains of evidence to back up the claims, and often we can also independently verify historical and scientific information. We can't do this with the Bible, which is why you won't find it in the history section or the science section of a library. You find it in the religious and faith section, along with all the other faith books that humans have written throughout time.
And you might say, yeah, but it's because there's evidence, there's facts. Well, the Bible tells us in the book of Romans that nature testifies about God.
So that's actually a claim in the book, and you cannot defend the authority of a book by citing the book itself. You have to either independently verify what the book says or go to the authors themselves and have them defend their conclusions. But seeing as how the authors are long dead, you can't do this, and just claiming the book is valid because the book says it's valid is fallacious.
Think about it. The planet is floating in space, spinning around, and you have life.
Completely irrelevant to the claim. A god is not necessary for the planet to be in space and for there to be life on it. This is just an argument from incredulity.
Everything has a creator.
So that is a lie, and it's a lie because there is no evidence anything in nature was created by an intelligence. However, we do have mountains of evidence of things forming and developing as a result of natural processes. And we have even documented particles coming into existence from literally a zero state. So no, a creator or intelligence is not needed.
And if you believe in science, I do too.
Then why are you getting it so wrong?
And there's a law in science that goes like this: life has to come from life.
That would be incorrect, and what he's referring to is called biogenesis, and it is not a scientific law. Calling biogenesis a scientific law is literally creationist fiction that comes from a misrepresentation of the Louis Pasteur experiment that debunked the idea of spontaneous generation. The idea that rotten meat could spontaneously generate maggots, or that mice could spontaneously generate from old wheat and dirty clothes. In debunking that concept, Pasteur demonstrated that life could not just pop into existence, and the term biogenesis was attached to this, that life must come from other life. Of course, anyone who understands exactly what abiogenesis is understands that it is not claiming that life just pops into existence from nothing. Just because Pasteur was correct in regards to the select circumstances that he himself was debunking doesn't mean that what he concluded applies to the entirety of the whole system. But it's because creationists are scientifically illiterate, they just keep tilting at this windmill.
Life cannot come from death.
Well, organisms require the energy provided by the things that die around them to sustain themselves and to, produce the next generation. Without that sustenance, new generations simply can't be born. The energy provided by the death of one organism does allow for the emergence of another. So technically, you're wrong again. And seeing as how death is merely a way for us to describe something once it is no longer alive, since elements were never alive and they can't be alive, then they technically can't be dead. So Emilio, you're just misrepresenting the science again.
And let me tell you who the author of life is: God. Humble yourself to him today, he'll reveal himself to you.
So after some deflection, some whataboutism, some misrepresentation, and some weapons-grade ignorance, Emilio here drops his positive claim and then takes off without providing any evidence to back it up. All in all, this is just another classic case of a creationist demonstrating that they need to get their ass back to school and quick. Be safe, be excellent to each other. I'll see you next time.